PlagueTVX. You don't even know.
Cool, let's start this. I didn't know. I didn't know this was like this long. I thought it was a trailer. So
Yes,
yeah.
it's an hour and a half. They're going through all the elites, or well, the three of them. We got the Necro, Harbinger, or whatever, with Virtuoso, and then they got what ended up being Guard, Will Bender. Did you see that trailer?
Yes. Oh, guild chat. All right, let's move it forward.
Look around us. Your children would be trapped in the past, if not for me. Their worlds are carved from the jade that I gave purpose. I promised them a future. A century of progress cannot end this way. I'll find a way to save us all.
Whatever. All right.
And start with the Harbinger. Let's take a look and have Cal run us through how it works.
All right, let's do it. Life Force is going to be drained over time to heal the Necromancer. So this is going to create kind of like an interesting dynamic in how you're going to play the game, being able to build up enough Life Force to enter Shroud, but at the same time, you need to make sure that you're avoiding enough damage so that it doesn't actually drain too much of that Life Force. And I mean, you still get the upside of the heal, but a lot of the time you're going to be wanting to go into that Shroud and get access to those damaging abilities. First thing we're going to see when we hop into Shroud,
Okay,
we're
skills.
starting to accumulate this, this mechanic called blight. And we'll see a little bit more of this on the rest of the spec as well. But building up blight, you can see on the health orb, we're gaining negative health.
Okay, I
This
see
is
that.
temporary health, 2% per stack. This stacks up to 25 times, so you can lose up to 50% of your maximum health if you are capped on blight. And the trade-off there is that some of the traits on this character are going to reward you for accumulating a lot of blight, and that's going to create kind of this high-risk, high-reward dynamic for this character. So blight, key mechanic, we'll see that in Elixirs as well. The other thing to note about Harbinger Shroud is that Life Force will not actually protect you. It will not absorb damage while you're in Shroud. You are just going to take full damage from abilities against your health total. So this, again, makes the character a little bit more squishy, but at the same time it also gives you more access to Life Force because you can't actually be pushed out through damage eating through all your Life Force. You're going to have access to Shroud as long as you have Life Force.
It's Hollow Smith, basically. When you go into Photon Forge mode, except the bar's going backwards instead of up.
Okay, look at the health thing. So you're gaining back your negative health to your regular health.
I don't. That's.
And he's not. That's what I was looking at the last 4 seconds. It looks to me like now that he's out of Death Shroud, if I'm reading the numbers right, you don't have that negative pull. It's adding back to your regular pull.
So, if Death Shroud doesn't protect you, and then your health drops to freaking 13k, and then you take 13k damage, are you dead?
That's what I think so.
That's whack. That's gonna be
It
squishy
looks
as
like
hell.
it says it's like glass.
They're gonna make the offensive crazy OP then, if that's the case.
The longer you stay in Shroud, you're going to be accumulating blight, so you're even more and more susceptible to damage. So sometimes you might want to just pop in, use all your abilities, which we will cover very shortly. We just show off super high level. Here's
It's
some buttons to
bad
press.
to keep it up for a long time, I think.
Yeah.
So you might pop in, use all your abilities, pop out, and really minimize the blight. Then you're giving up some of the sustained pressure from the damaging abilities in Harbinger Shroud, but at the same time you're kind of maximizing your survivability by accumulating less blight.
Did you see how long his health just stayed negative or whatever?
Yeah.
I don't know about this spec.
And like he said, yeah, just get some allies to heal you. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
where?
So let's take a look at the actual Shroud skills now. Starting off, we have Tainted Bolts. This is just auto attack. It's a little bit cooler than Life Blast. It's a little bit faster. Typical, I guess maybe a little closer to Reaper, which has the nice auto attack chain compared to the very deliberate
auto
Life Blast
attack
that
with
Core Necro has.
Auto
access
attack
to.
is
So
Torment?
this actually fires two different projectiles. This is more of that shotgun style, point blank projectile
I've never seen any of those skills before.
Oh no.
that we see on stuff like Split Blade, we see it on Fan of Fire. A lot of skills have this kind of value for being closer in range. Because you see, moving back,
What the-
you're not going to get full,
Looks kinda cool looking.
all
That's
6
still
hits on
pretty
these
good from that
projectiles.
range.
But you still get a little bit of damage. It's going to be optimal to be in melee range, and we're going to see the opportunity to get in melee range with some of the other skills on this kit.
No, I just wanted to see, is 900 range again? Yeah. And that's single target. Okay.
Also, like, this looks like, again, if you see this kid, he's even more done.
Hey.
Devouring
Devouring Cut and Voracious Arc, these are both movement abilities. So Reaper gets the 1 dash on skill 2. Harbinger gets a little bit more.
That was freaking burning speed from Ellie. Dagger.
Yeah, I was gonna say that looks
We've
like
got 2 movement
dagger
skills
this
in here. That
green.
dash is actually really long. That's great.
Yeah, it's longer.
So Devouring Cut, it's just more of that burning speed, no evade
not
here.
hammer.
We put the evade on Voracious Arc. This is the vault animation that we've seen before
It's
on
not-
Daredevil.
oh.
Very, very short days, so this is kind of your main engage tool.
It's 900 range apparently.
Yeah, I mean, like,
And then finally we're going to see the big CC Vital
Oh.
Draw on skill 5. Not uncommon for Necro to have a
Oh, it's
CC
float?
skill on skill 5. We've seen it with Executioner's Scythe on Reaper and Tainted Shackles on Necro, or Core Necro. Vital Draw, probably.
Hold on. So it's a.
oh yeah, so
it's
it's
a-
also +2. Okay. Life Force, you get some Life Force, you do some damage, you float for 3 seconds.
Oh, also that damage. Say goodbye to that in World vs. World and PvP.
AoE 3-second float, so really big potential to set up Dark Barrage, set up pistol skill, you know, hit this, Dark Barrage, get out, press. Next, let's hop into the pistol
Pistols!
kit. This is kind of a ranged, it's kind of like a hybrid DPS weapon. You can play it with either power or condition, or potentially both. Maybe Grieving as a line up 2 targets. You're going to get a little bit extra value there. Damage, Torment, nothing too crazy, but it's an auto attack. We want to make sure it's kind of pretty basic. This Weeping Shots does a lot of things. It's going to do damage, vulnerability, torment, life force. This also pierces, so if you line up a good number of targets, you
Projectile
can get
finish, that's
a
good.
pretty significant amount of
Oh,
AoE
sorry.
damage. This is obviously a little bit harder to do in a competitive setting where the enemies aren't going to stack as cleanly on top of each other for a line projectile, but if you get that perfect line, then you're looking at potentially a lot of life force, a lot of damage. Moving on to
Is it
Vile Blast, skill
poison?
3. This is
Weakness.
another pretty strong skill. The whole
Stun.
kit here on the pistol
That's pretty
is
good, skill.
quite good. Gives you a little bit more AoE than some of the other Necromancer weapons. Looking at Axe, this is an AoE stun, short duration
Okay, how
stun,
long
1
on
second. This is more
headshot
intended to be like
is
that.
the
Interrupt.
stun? I'm forgetting.
It's like I think it's like half a second or something.
Let's hop into the Elixir skills
Okay.
next.
The heal said, look,
Gain
The-
health, vigor, and life force. Inflict blight on yourself.
so the blight is 10% health. So you would not, the only thing you'd be getting is endurance and life force, because you would be not getting a heal, because that heal is less than the health taken away by the blight. Math.
I don't know, but
Whatever.
yeah, it's probably not gonna be used.
Alright.
Pretty straightforward. It just gives you vigor and healing and life force and a little bit of blight.
Yeah, I'll just use consume
Then we'll get
conditions.
to a few more exciting 10 might stacks and fury, more of that offensive option, and then combine
fast.
that with Elixir of Anguish. This is going to be first source of quickness that we're seeing in this kit. Also gives you a little bit of swiftness. Who cares about that? Quickness is the awesome thing here. Elixir of Bliss. This
Ooh,
Resolution. Gain resolution and convert your conditions into life force. It's not a stun break or nothing, so that means you have to sacrifice. You can only basically, like I said earlier, you're not gonna be able to fit all these elixirs on in the build. You need at least 2 stun breaks, or else you're already dead enough with 2 stun breaks anyway, with Shroud not protecting you.
what is the name of this skill again?
Oh.
Elixir of Ambition.
What?
Super long tooltip. This like
Okay, let's read this. Gain all boons.
Okay.
Inflict significant blight on yourself.
Hold on, what is this from the Mesmer?
It's
no.
the elite.
Yeah. Isn't the Mesmer thing got one of it?
No, that's the thief. When the thief steals from.
I was gonna
Mesmer.
say when my thief steals from the Mesmer, I get this.
This also gives you all the might stacks,
Okay.
which is weird because it doesn't give you max stacks of anything else. So the fact that they just decided,
Look at that blight you get on. That's a big blight thing.
That's
That's
20%
that's
yeah, if either I'm not understanding blight properly or
I know.
this thing is just gonna kill itself in 2 seconds.
These have been adjusted for competitive modes already. We've seen the strength of abilities that apply a large quantity of boons, and we want to make sure that this skill feels very powerful, but at the same time, to justify the trade-off of blight. So maybe going a little bit crazy to start it out, but you know that's what betas are for. We want to see really how some of these things play out, some of the mechanics that are a little bit less known, like Harbinger Shroud is a very unique take on how Necro.
The last thing I want to say is that again, none of this is like if I'm on warrior, right, and I fight this thing. If I'm on greatsword hammer, good luck to this class. He's not gonna get a chance to do anything. It's like there's almost no point in taking the spec. They have to overload the damage to an extreme amount if this is gonna be worth like even entertaining. This is why it looks so PvE to me right now.
Alchemic Vigor, increased vitality. Why not? This is great.
Okay.
Necro loves vitality, more life force, give you more access to Harbinger Shroud,
Yeah.
and a little bit more upfront bulk. So nothing too crazy, but minor trait. We want to make sure it feels solid without being kind of overbearing.
Oh, that is actually pretty good
And
for
then
a
on
minor.
on the Grandmaster side, we have Corrupted Talent.
That's a good one.
Gain life
This
force
one? Yeah.
entering Harbinger Shroud.
No, the
This is going to
HP.
guarantee
Because you don't have to select it. Everyone else has to select it usually.
Yeah, that's true.
you can enter Harbinger Shroud with no life force because this trait is going to give you a little bit up front. So it's going to be
That's
a
what I
very,
was about to
very
say.
short duration there. But if you do need the emergency to access either Vital Draw or any of the mobility skills, that is always going to be available. Adept traits. Starting on the top, we're going to see a lot of power damage on the top row of traits, a little condition damage on the bottom line.
Okay,
and
this
a
is huge. This is where the extra free damage that makes the super damage worth blight thing is coming in.
So Wicked Corruption and Septic Corruption, these both are the blight payoffs, looking at 1%. I believe this is 0.5% in PvP and World v World, because this goes up to 25%.
Yeah.
Very, very large number to see in the add-up trait slot for a damage multiplier, but this is
12.5.
that damage real payoff for extending your Harbinger Shroud and putting as much blight in yourself as possible. You get a really big payoff here.
Yeah, it's
Septic
literally just
Corruption with
hurting
the
yourself to do
slight
more
addition
damage.
of also making Shroud skill 2 apply poison, so that's up to 6 poison stacks if you hit all 6 of those projectiles. This is the Elixir cooldown reduction. This one doesn't do anything particular with boons, but this is going to be a little bit more disruptive.
Oh, wait a minute.
Moving into
What was
the
the radius of that?
mass
240, that's pretty big. At the same time, it's kind of bad because you don't have room to take many elixirs in the first place, so you probably don't take that trait now that I think about it.
Moving into the
Yeah.
master tier of traits, we have Implacable Foe,
Stab.
Stability on Harbinger Shroud. So this Foot in the Grave used to do this for all Necros.
Oh, look,
That's
back.
the trait, yeah. Why can't they just keep it on Reaper? Or on whatever it was.
On-demand stab with, if you're,
You can do Shroud Stomps if someone's down.
This also gives you a little bit more ferocity based off vitality for that, just a little bit of extra power damage. And then here in the middle, here is kind of the boon support payoff of the elixirs. Elixirs are now AoE and a little bit of concentration on top. So this is something we've seen before, like Soul Beast Stance Share. I mean, obviously Elixir of Ambition is the huge payoff here. If I come over to these golems that are my good friends, I can give them every boon in the game, and the blight is not shared, so this is me taking on a little bit of blight and giving a giant pile of boons to all of my allies. Grandmaster traits. This just gives you a little power up front, and also it's going to create this area effect around you while in Harbinger Shroud that deals power damage and a little bit of cripple.
it's a good skill if it wasn't for the Shroud mechanic. If it was, even for that, this would be pretty awesome. Great.
The only thing saving them so far is the stability on entering Shroud and then this elite. Outside of that, they don't have much to
Yeah, this elite's pretty good.
Reward for staying in Shroud for a long amount of time, you're going to get this continual damage pulses.
Oh, that's slower than I thought.
Excuse me. Continual damage
Wait 3
pulses
seconds.
to just give a little bit of extra pressure, reward you for building up this blight, staying in the Shroud for a long time. And we're going to see similar mechanic on the condition damage side of things. A little bit of condition damage up front, and this is going to pulse Torment and Weakness.
Oh, of course.
That's better.
instead of
That's a
in
better one,
Of
combat.
course, that
actually.
was more cancer.
Put it on.
Yeah, so Torment and Weakness as opposed
This is
to
gonna be a better
little
one.
bit of power damage and cripple. Hop back in here and show the
I'm gonna explain to you how crazy something you can do is in a second.
Torment and Weakness.
This is pretty
Very
good.
exciting.
Okay, so what I was gonna say is that pulsing weakness. If you take Rune of Aristocracy, each one of these pulses, you're gonna get a free 5 might stacks. Also, other trait lines do things with weakness. Basically, Necro has easy access to weakness, so you can easily make an Aristocracy build if you wanted. It's gonna push the power and the Condi higher, easier to stack with the blight. What the hell?
Pulsing AoE quickness. So this is for yourself and nearby allies. We've seen a little bit of this on Reaper where
pretty
they have
nice.
that pulsing quickness for themselves. This one's a little bit less uptime overall, but it's going to be AoE, and obviously you can spec a lot more into boon duration on this character if this is the type of gameplay that you're looking for. So very, very powerful option. All of these Grandmaster traits just really reward you for being in Shroud for a long time and really pushing that risk-reward side of the
There is gonna
Harbinger.
be no long time if you're getting
Okay.
hit.
if you run carapace stacks, okay.
Oh, wait a minute.
If you have carapace stacks, right?
Yeah.
If you have carapace stacks, give you extra damage. To
Yo,
10 or 20 power.
if you do Aristocracy, this thing and Carapace,
That's what I'm saying. If you go Deathline with this is what I'm trying to think. If you do Deathline with this and you get carapace stacks, you're going to get even more damage from this line. So I would think that this line would pair well with Spite. So far, not seeing the whole thing and not having a time to test it yet. I think if you did Spite and Deathline with this, you could be doing a shitload of damage.
And you'd be semi more protected with. You need a defensive trait line for sure. You're gonna have to build this under the idea that you're gonna be taking hits because there's not gonna be any Shroud to protect you anymore. And this isn't offensively that great as far as getting your skills off to justify going full glass anyway, because you don't have stealth, you don't have like instant cast teleports.
Yeah,
so
I'm,
you're gonna be easy to
I'm
hit.
thinking I'm gonna try that. I think I'm gonna try the first build I try to make with this. I'm gonna do Spite Death.
Yeah, try the Carapace and
Spite.
like Aristocracy or something.
No, I'm gonna try with the. I think I got some ideas.
All right.
So that's all we've got to show off for the Harbinger here. Obviously, there's a lot more to dive into in terms of like gameplay and rotations and all that good stuff. But we don't want to spoil everything here. We show off all the skills, show off all the traits. Once you guys get your hands on it on Tuesday, you'll be able to deep dive into all that stuff and really start figuring things out. So I believe next we're going to hop over and talk a little bit about the Virtuoso.
Hey, can I take a quick 5-minute break before we do the next video?
I was about to say I'm gonna get a drink and then bring back.
I'm gonna make some tea. Give me 5 minutes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.